DMC is back!
At this point, Devil May Cry fans should be no strangers to controversy. Ever since Capcom ousted original series creator Hideki Kamiya after only one game, the Supernatural franchise has since been exhilarating to behold as corporate executives continue to burn embarrassing amounts of money running the series straight into the ground. It's kind of beautiful, like seeing George Lucas excited about making Episode 1, or watching the Enterprise enter the atmosphere.
My God, Bones. What have I done?
But what was once the pinnacle of action gameplay that created the hack and slash genre has since become an off-the-rails roller coaster of legendary quittings, reboots, unboots, and narrative inconsistencies, all leading to the pinnacle of artistic nonsense, the upcoming 6th installment, Devil May Cry 5. Devil May Cry 5 isn't for anyone. It's not for its exhausted director Hideaki Itsuno, it's not for Devil May Cry fans, it's not even for DMC reboot fans. It's a corporate piece of garbage entertainment created by robots so that you'll spend $8,000 on a jacket. But how do we get here? In the years since Devil May Cry, series creator Hideki Kamiya co-founded his own studio, Platinum Games, with Resident Evil creator Shinji Mikami and a veritable who's who of former Capcom greats who were tired of corporate micromanagement dictating their games. The truth here is that if you want real quality entertainment, you gotta go indie. No, not that indie. This indie. Independent video game studios with mostly independent funding and an insane roster of creative talent. Games where the creator, director, and corporate producer are the same person. Kamiya did it. Shinji Mikami did it again with Tango Gameworks and The Evil Within. Hideo Kojima is doing it now for his post-Metal Gear Solid work with Death Stranding. The game industry has finally turned towards recognizing and celebrating creators, not the studios that fund or put restrictions on their creations. So there's no better time than now to stop giving Capcom money to recycle your old childhood memories into something you don't even recognize anymore. Or in the case of Devil May Cry, taking a series that looked like this and turning it into this.
Why did you kill my child?
So, why is Devil May Cry 5 gonna suck? They didn't want to make it in the first place. After the critical and financial bomb of the reboot DMC, longtime series director Hideaki Itsuno said himself at this year's Tokyo Game Show, quote, "I really wanted to make a DMC Devil May Cry 2, and then that didn't happen, so when it came time to make a new game, we said, alright, let's make Devil May Cry 5. I'm not making this up. That's an actual quote. From like September.
DMC is back!
Now look, I get it. Itsuno's been trying to shake hardline Devil May Cry fans for a long time. It's why he keeps making Devil May Cry games starring a younger protagonist, a younger protagonist, a younger protagonist. He's tired of having to make games starring Kamiya as Dante, and almost replaced him entirely with Nero and Devil May Cry 4, until series producer Hiroyuki Kobayashi said that Dante had to be in the game. And I don't know what goes on behind the scenes in a company as big as Capcom, but pay attention to Itsuno's body language at this year's E3 reveal in June. He's stiff. He looks disinterested. Maybe he isn't the world's best public speaker, but this dude just looks spent, like he's dying inside. And while I definitely sympathize with him, after playing wildly different Devil May Cry games from him for the past decade, I just can't trust the guy. He feels like a company man just doing what he's told. But that's nothing compared to his sexy American sidekick, producer Matt Walker. Sure, he's probably just a nice guy doing his job, but everything this guy does feels so forced. Like he's a politician trying to get my vote. Just listen to his delivery here.
So this is our response, loud and clear, that we hear you. Devil May Cry and Hideaki Itsuno are back.
They put all this love into really fine details.
And we think that we've made something that feels better than any action game we've ever created.
Hold on.
He talks about the fans and raises his voice to simulate real emotions without actually looking or feeling excited himself. And what's with that eyebrow move? When a developer has something exciting to share, you can see it. Neil Druckmann here, representing Naughty Dog, starts to visibly fight himself from spilling a game secret when talking about The Last of Us Part 2.
Like, awesome ideas. I want to say one of them, but I'm not
I know
going
you can't.
to.
I know exactly. Yeah, you can't.
Get used to it.
Whatever, I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. I'm doing
No.
it. I'm doing it.
No. You're
I'm doing it.
No. What are you doing?
Everything in his posture to his nervousness shows how clearly invested he is in the project. Another good example is the Death Stranding trailer reveal at the Game Awards in 2017. Again, pay attention to the body language. See the way they're comfortable in each other's personal space? Hideo and Norman Reedus are excited and clearly show a mutual friendship and respect.
I have to say, it's such an honor to work with you. You're such a genius, seriously. I'd do anything for this guy, for real.
In comparison, the difference is huge.
Need to remain tight and responsive as well. So we've gathered the best minds at Capcom to ensure that we can still deliver that amazing gameplay.
Does this mean that I think Itsuno's gonna shank it?
Rooms? Yeah. Something's terribly wrong.
Not exactly. I think what he's doing for Devil May Cry 5 is actually worse. Itsuno is trying to make DMC too. Everything we've seen from the game seems to support this completely. Besides professing his love for the DMC reboot in interviews, Itsuno has mentioned on more than one occasion how designs and mechanics from DMC have influenced the new game, which honestly is kind of bizarre. Where DMC was trying to be a Devil May Cry game, Devil May Cry 5 is now trying to be DMC. Nero is a great example of this. His redesign is so close to Dante from DMC that a lot of people mistook the game announcement as an actual DMC sequel. Nero was originally designed by Itsuno to not be Dante, but is now fused with a character that was also not supposed to be Dante, but then was made to look more like Dante, but now is Nero again? It's like the dragon's tail eating its own mouth. Everything from his short hair, bad attitude, and even a lot of his moveset are absolutely DMC. This also extends to the enemy and level design. You see a lot of odd color schemes smashed together. Crumbly black and white chessboard environments, enemies that look odd and jagged or have weird stylistic choices, like these super tiny wings on this praying mantis. Altogether, it looks messy, and side by side with recurring series enemies, they look way out of place. Like, where did this guy come from? This is supposed to be our new main cast, but just looking at these guys walking together, I just don't buy it. None of these new changes look like they belong in Devil May Cry's world. It just doesn't make any fucking sense! Oh, and did I mention the cursing?
That son of a bitch.
Demon ass.
Fuck you. Time to kick some ass.
Don't crap yourself.
Fuck you!
Hold on.
Hold on.
Did he just say get lit?
Get lit!
One of the biggest reasons why DMC did so poorly in the first place was because it focused almost overbearingly on how badass the game thought it was, while still being familiar enough that it didn't actually take any chances. The game ended up existing in a sort of creative no man's land, where it was unclear who the intended audience was or what the game was really trying to say.
I know exactly who you are. You are Dante. Nothing more and nothing less.
Fuck you!
Plugging that kind of septic energy back into a mainline Devil May Cry game not only makes no sense, but further confuses the game's overall message and identity. All we're left with are empty examples of coolness and rock and roll that don't really mean anything.
The darkness of night falls around my soul, and the hunter within loses control. Gotta let it out, gotta let it out. Gotta let it out, gotta let it out.
right, there it was, Devil Trigger, and that's you wanted it.
I don't like what Itsuno's doing with the scenario, and I don't like the implications for where it's going with the characters. Following DMC's ending of demons taking over the world and an impending fight with Virgil probably, it feels like Itsuno's just picking up where he left off with DMC, regardless of how much sense it makes for Devil May Cry, which are clear indicators to me that, DMC influence or not, they don't understand the characters. Honestly, this is the part that bugs me the most. For any story to be effective, you need to have a main character with clearly defined motivations. No one wants to watch a main character with no motivation. They don't drive the plot, they're not fun to watch, and all they can do is wait for someone to show them their place in all of this. But with a strong hero, everything begins to fall into place. From there, you can build supporting characters that push and pull your hero in different directions. When done right, the characters jump off the screen. The interactions between them pull you in, and you don't always know how the scenes are going to end. Bad characterization does the opposite. It can make a charged interaction feel boring.
Why can't you just tell me the fucking truth?
And hurt the momentum of your story. Characters that are supposed to be having an important moment feel like they're all just standing around. And at their worst, scenes like this can make your hero look like a total chump. Capcom does this with Dante all the time. They do this because they don't know what to do with him. In the series' strongest entries, 1 and 3, Dante has a clear motivation, tied to avenging his mother's death and his brother's fall to evil. But for whatever reason, Capcom has had no idea how to progress the series further than that. Dante switches from being an active protagonist in 1 and 3 to being a passive one for the rest of the series. Dante doesn't have a mission anymore, nor is he characterized as being smart enough to find a new one. People just show up. Things just happen to him. And what's worse is without anything for Dante to do, the supporting cast suffers as well. Characters like Lady and Trish were independent, complicated women who challenged Dante. They had amazing chemistry, didn't back down, and pushed each other to become better people. The versions of the characters we've seen past that are just giggly caricatures. For characters that started out like this,
I'm driven by the inability to forgive him. My soul is screaming, demanding me to kill him.
to see them now turn into this actually pisses me off. They just kind of hang out and wait for Dante to give them something to do, becoming retroactively younger, sluttier, waiting around like pizza sluts.
Hold on.
Don't worry, it's not misogynist. Nero is the biggest pizza slut of them all. And the reason is that Nero has never been given the kind of utility that Trish or Lady have. He's utterly and uselessly defined by his dependence on Dante, which has finally turned into this little brother, big brother bickering dynamic. Not even close to where we left them in Devil May Cry 4. Oh, and what the fuck happened to Lucia? But where other series push their supporting characters to learn and grow alongside each other, everyone in Devil May Cry 5 is very quickly blurring together. Without proper character motivation, no one really sticks out. Everyone is badass, but no one is cool. This is supposed to be the epic series finale, but the vibe coming from Itsuno is that the well has been tapped dry. I mean, look at Dante. He looks like a burnt out rock star who's been on the road for too long. This is not a triumphant return. This is like a bad reunion tour. With such rich background material to pull from, how could Capcom be running out of things to do with these characters? Itsuno has stated more than once that Dante is too overpowered, but right off the bat, that assumes that Dante's power is what makes him interesting, not the character's intelligence or personality. In this case, all of the characters seem to suffer from this in Devil May Cry 5. Unless they're hot to look at, or can blow something up, they're useless. Like, what the fuck is happening here? But it wasn't always like that. In Devil May Cry 1, Dante is introduced not as a mercenary, but primarily as a detective, an aspect of the character that's long been forgotten. He reads books, he investigates, and finds clues. We see this clearly in the way he interacts with his environment, and to a lesser extent, the jobs he takes in the anime. He isn't just a hired gun, he's there to put the pieces together. He's a blunt instrument with a brain. He's angry, but deflects with humor. He's remorseless, but also selfless. By that same token, it's why Itsuno is equally as confused about what to do with a human character like Kyrie, who has no powers. At this point, it's looking like she's gonna get killed off screen or ignored entirely, when she could have been so much more. Dante's mother Eva was also human, and the love she inspired forms the emotional center of the series, the thing their enemies don't share, valuing human life, caring for someone. But even Eva got the shaft in the DMC reboot, and was retconned arbitrarily to be an angel instead. Some of the series' best moments come not when the characters are the most badass, but when they're the most vulnerable, the most human.
Trish!
Dante.
But what does that matter when you look at Nero's fucking mechanical arm? Capcom producer Hiroyuki Kobayashi made it clear that in developing Dante's character, they've learned to, quote, keep the character consistent and easy to understand, while focusing on the action and the gameplay instead. They forgot that when the series actually works, it's never simple, and it's never easy. When it comes to making games that people celebrate and remember, you can't cut corners, and you can't play it safe. Capcom has been cutting corners and playing it safe for years. Okay, for context, I'm not trying to make Capcom out to be some evil empire. A lot of their developers are still friends with each other. I mean, they definitely don't work for Capcom anymore, but a little competition never hurt anybody. And without Capcom's initial funding, so many of my favorite games would have never happened. The problem, the real problem, is that Capcom has some pretty shitty business practices.
I love you, buddy. For real. But you say some silly shit. That's where this all comes from. Doesn't mean I don't love you.
So really, I mean, Capcom has some pretty shitty business practices. So I already mentioned that original Devil May Cry director Hideki Kamiya and a ton of other game designers left Capcom to create Platinum Games, but I feel like people don't really understand the gravity of what that means in the industry. Capcom took the creators and developers of their most beloved and profitable franchises and literally turned them into an entire rival company. How is that possible? Soul Reaver and Uncharted series creator Amy Hennig made headlines when she left Naughty Dog in 2014. But what happened with Capcom? It'd be embarrassing if people today even understood what it meant. But it's only one in the long line of business flops and poor creative decisions that seems to have become part of the Capcom brand. As a company, they remind me a lot of the DC Extended Universe or Star Wars since the Disney buyout. They keep cashing in on brand recognition and franchising their intellectual properties with endless sequels. I mean, their creative decisions are clearly business motivated, and they lack the creative spark that allows for real genius. They adopt current trends like microtransactions and dubstep. They maintain dated practices like increasing product value with multiple campaigns. They sell ridiculous pre-order bundles for thousands of dollars. They introduce sliding scale difficulty with simple button presses so that no one complains about their game being too hard. They even give a platform to negative feedback by publicly calling out fans online. But in the end, what I'm sure is going to doom Capcom in the long run is that Capcom is a company of followers in an industry that demands leaders. Look how long they've decided to keep their franchises alive after all of the original creators have left. How is it that in the year 2018, Capcom's most talked about new game is Resident Evil 2? A game, keep in mind, also directed by, you guessed it, Hideki Kamiya. It's a way of thinking that ensures that they'll always be behind the curve, and all but guarantees that they'll run out of ideas eventually. The really sad thing is that at this point, Devil May Cry fans would rather settle for a bad game than no game at all. I mean, are we ever going to see another Devil May Cry or Resident Evil 4 coming out of Capcom again? Not until they let their creative teams be, well, creative again. Just listen to what Ruben Langdon had to say about his mocap and voice work for Dante during Devil May Cry 3. Quote, "There were a lot of cooks in the kitchen, so to say. I was just really being over-directed, and I felt like I had no creativity in the character at all. I ultimately just got so frustrated, I was just like, screw all of you, I'm gonna do what I want to do." Sound familiar? One of two things need to happen. Capcom needs to let Itsuno make the game he clearly would rather make, or get someone in the driver's seat who actually wants to do Devil May Cry. How about the guy who created it in the first place, maybe? But given Itsuno's plans for a climactic, emotional ending, I think that he's gonna finally just get rid of Dante. Dante's either gonna be the king of the underworld and never have to be seen again, or he's gonna kill him off. Trish is probably gonna die, Lady's probably gonna die. He's just gonna clean house and leave Nero left to be the DMC stand-in proto-character that Itsuno's been trying to make the whole time. Or maybe none of that's gonna happen and it's a big feint. In the end, I do know one thing's for sure. The characters I fell in love with in the series went away a long time ago. I don't care what happens in the new Devil May Cry. As is, it's already a massive creative failure that's going in way too many directions to possibly be good. And seeing how tight other industry leaders keep their development teams and properties, we'll probably never see this much chaos in a AAA title or its lead character ever again. For Dante, he was kind of in the right place, wrong time in video game history. Back when developers played it fast and loose and you never knew what was going to happen in between games.
Looks like it's your lucky day.
Honestly, it sucks that it had to take Dante. I know that there'll never be anyone like him again. But that's what's great about storytelling. There will always be new characters and new stories. Maybe that's exactly what we need. Because in the end, original content will always win.
Sounds heavy.
Okay, let's get it over with in 10 minutes. Can't let a single one of those suckers live.
5 minutes.
More than enough.
The darkness of night falls around my soul, and the hunter within loses control. Gotta let it out, gotta